The quiet at Heartland Ranch breaks in the most unexpected way. Not with a siren, not with a shout, but with a truth that changes everything. A single sentence lands heavier than loss, heavier than return, heavier than any secret this ranch has ever carried. There is a baby. And from the moment that truth surfaces, nothing at Heartland feels safe, settled, or certain anymore. Morning comes gently to Heartland, the way it always does. The land looks calm, steady, almost protective. Horses move through the pasture without urgency, the barn doors creak open, and life appears to be following its familiar rhythm. But beneath that calm, something is already shifting. Amy feels it before anyone says a word. The air feels different, heavier, like the ranch itself is holding its breath. Amy Fleming has learned how to trust that feeling. It's the same instinct that helps her calm a frightened horse before it bolts. The same instinct that carried her through grief, through rebuilding, through learning how to stand strong when everything she loved was taken away. Today, that instinct won't let her rest. She tries to focus on the routine, on the work in front of her, but her thoughts keep pulling her back, like something unseen is circling closer. The news doesn't come to her directly. It never does. At Heartland, truth has a way of traveling slowly, moving through looks, pauses, unfinished sentences. Jack is quieter than usual. He watches Amy from across the yard, his expression thoughtful, weighed down by something he hasn't said yet. Jack Bartlett knows what it looks like when the past is about to collide with the present. He's seen it too many times to mistake it now. Lou senses it too. She's always been sharp when it comes to changes in the air, especially the kind that threaten stability. She tries to keep things moving, tries to keep the ranch running smoothly, but her focus slips. Her mind is elsewhere. On family, on consequences, on how quickly one piece of information can undo years of careful balance. When the truth finally surfaces, it doesn't arrive gently. It lands hard. Someone is pregnant, a baby is coming, and the shock isn't just about new life. It's about what that life represents. Questions rise instantly, unspoken but loud. Who is the father? Why is this coming out now? And what does this mean for a family that has already been stretched by loss, return, and unfinished truths? Amy feels the weight of it settle in her chest. A baby means future. It means responsibility. It means that choices made in silence are about to echo loudly. She thinks of Lindy, of the promises she made to protect her daughter from pain, from confusion, from the kind of uncertainty that steals childhood innocence. This news threatens all of that. Jack understands immediately that this isn't a moment to fix or explain. It's a moment that needs space. He watches as Amy processes the truth, not falling apart, not reacting outwardly, but growing still. Jack knows that stillness. It's the kind that comes before a storm. He also knows that a baby doesn't just bring hope. It brings accountability. It forces people to face what they've avoided. Lou's concern turns practical almost instantly. She thinks about the ranch, about stability, about what happens when a child enters a situation already filled with unanswered questions. Love alone won't be enough. It never is. She worries about the cost of this truth, especially when emotions are still raw and trust is still fragile. Around them, Heartland keeps moving, unaware of how deeply this news is about to cut. The horses sense the tension, reacting subtly, restlessly. The ranch has always been a witness to life's biggest moments, and now it stands quietly as another one unfolds. A baby should mean joy. At Heartland, it means reckoning. Amy realizes something in that moment that scares her more than the news itself. This isn't just about someone else's future. It's about hers. About whether the life she has rebuilt can survive another truth that refuses to stay buried. The past isn't done with them yet. And Season 20 begins with the understanding that some news doesn't ask if you're ready. It arrives, and everything must change around it. The news doesn't settle. It spreads. Like a crack in glass, it widens quietly, touching every corner of Heartland Ranch. By the time the sun climbs higher, everyone feels it. Even if no one is saying it out loud yet, a baby changes the meaning of every conversation. Every look now carries suspicion, concern, or careful restraint. Amy tries to focus on Lindy. She always does when the world feels unstable. Lindy's laughter, her curiosity, her small routines are anchors in a life that often feels unpredictable. But even Lindy senses something is different. Children always do. She notices the way Amy pauses before answering questions, the way Jack watches more closely, the way Lou's voice sharpens when she thinks no one is listening. Lindy doesn't ask directly, but her silence is louder than words. Jack finally breaks the quiet, not with questions, but with caution. He reminds everyone that new life deserves protection, not judgment. But even as he says it, he knows protection requires truth. You can't shield a child from consequences built on secrets. Jack has lived long enough to know that love without honesty eventually turns into damage, and whatever this baby represents, it is tied to choices that can no longer stay hidden. Lou struggles with the uncertainty. She needs clarity. Who is involved matters. Timing matters, responsibility matters. To her, this isn't just emotional news, it's logistical, ethical, and deeply personal. She worries about the example being set, about the ripple effect this will have on Lindy, on the ranch, on the fragile sense of normal they've fought to maintain. Lou doesn't want to be harsh, but she refuses to pretend this is simple. Amy listens, but her thoughts are elsewhere. She feels pulled between empathy and fear. A baby is innocent, but innocence doesn't erase the chaos surrounding it. She wonders how many truths are still missing, how much she doesn't know yet. The thought unsettles her. She's tired of being blindsided, tired of rebuilding just to be tested again. As the day moves on, whispers grow louder. People speak in lowered voices. Assumptions begin to form. No one says them directly, but they hang in the air, heavy and uncomfortable. Amy feels the pressure building. She knows this is only the beginning. The real damage won't come from the news itself, but from what happens when the truth finally demands names, timelines, and accountability. The ranch feels restless. Familiar spaces feel tighter, like walls closing in. Amy realizes that whatever is coming next won't just affect one person. This baby is already changing everything. And the hardest part isn't what she knows. It's what she hasn't been told yet. By evening, the ranch feels suspended, caught between the ordinary and the extraordinary. The horses graze, but their movements are tense, as if even they sense the subtle tremor running through the land. The barns, the pastures, the worn fences, they have always witnessed the life and loss of generations. Tonight, they witness uncertainty. And it lands on every person differently. Amy moves through her evening chores with mechanical precision. She feeds the horses, checks the fences, fills the water troughs. The motions are familiar, grounding, but her mind is elsewhere. Questions flood her silently. Whose child is this? How will it affect her life? And most painfully, how can she protect Lindy from the storm that this baby is sure to bring? Each unanswered question presses against her chest like a weight she cannot set down. Lindy notices subtle changes immediately. Children read more than they understand. She notices the small shifts, the hesitation in Amy's voice, the lingering looks Jack exchanges with Lou, the heavy silence during dinner. She doesn't ask about the baby yet, but her curiosity is sharp, a quiet blade cutting through pretense. Amy recognizes this, and she struggles to find a balance between honesty and protection. Telling Lindy too much risks fear, telling her too little risks confusion. Jack senses the tension in both mother and daughter. Years of experience have taught him that these moments of news that arrive too heavy to digest, require patience. He observes quietly, speaking only when necessary, letting Amy carry the emotional weight while remaining close enough to intervene if it threatens to overwhelm her. Jack knows that love is not in solving every problem, but in standing steadfastly as others navigate their own. Lou, as practical as ever, moves to organize details. She considers what the future may look like for this child, for the ranch, and for everyone connected to the revelation. Lou doesn't allow sentimentality to cloud judgment. She worries about responsibilities being ignored, about boundaries being tested, and about the fragility of a life that has grown used to stability after past upheavals. Meanwhile, rumors begin to form quietly among the ranch hands and neighbors. Heartland is never fully contained. Its news travels fast, through whispers and glances. The baby represents more than life. It represents reckoning, accountability, and the unraveling of assumptions that had been safely ignored. Tension grows in the shadows of familiar spaces. The barn corners where laughter once echoed now feel smaller, heavier, like the walls themselves understand that change is inevitable. Amy finally finds a quiet moment near the pasture, where the sun dips low and golden light stretches over the land. She watches the horses graze, and for the first time, she allows herself to breathe. Not relief, not clarity, just the raw weight of what's coming. She realizes that no matter how carefully she's rebuilt her life, no matter how much she has prepared herself, some truths arrive without permission, demanding confrontation, reflection, and choice. The night falls over Heartland with a stillness that feels deliberate. The calm is not comfort, it is suspense, a pregnant pause that holds the future just out of reach. Amy senses it in the air, in the rustle of leaves, in the distant call of a horse. This baby is more than news. It is a challenge to every carefully constructed life on the ranch, to every decision Amy thought was settled, and to the delicate balance of love, trust, and responsibility that holds the family together. Every character now stands at the edge of anticipation. Their hearts are tethered to something larger than themselves. Choices must be made, conversations avoided can no longer be postponed, and the ranch, in its quiet wisdom, watches. Heartland Season 20 isn't about dramatic confrontations. It's about the subtleties of life colliding with truths that cannot be ignored. And as the stars begin to emerge above the pasture, one fact is undeniable. Nothing, not even time itself, will allow this revelation to remain contained. The next morning, Heartland Ranch awakens to a quiet tension that isn't easily shaken. Sunlight spills over the pastures, bright and calm, but inside the farmhouse, the atmosphere is taut. Amy moves deliberately, aware that every glance, every step, every breath might carry meaning. She's learning that some truths arrive not with fanfare, but with subtle persistence. They creep into conversations, linger in looks, and hover in silences until they demand acknowledgement. Jack watches from the kitchen doorway, his presence steady, grounding. He knows that the revelation of a baby isn't just a piece of news. It is a catalyst. It forces the family to face unresolved questions, hidden feelings, and unspoken fears. Years of experience have taught him that avoidance only compounds the problem. Silence may seem protective in the moment, but eventually, it fractures trust. The weight of responsibility now presses not only on those directly involved, but on everyone who has built a life around assumptions and stability. Lou approaches cautiously, her practical mind mapping out possibilities, timelines, and outcomes. She knows the implications are complex. Raising a child requires preparation, but raising one amid uncertainty demands vigilance. She is determined to balance empathy with pragmatism, to protect the ranch and everyone on it without diminishing the emotional truth of the moment. Her focus is sharp, but not without heart. She understands that emotions will need space, but action cannot wait. Lindy, now older and perceptive, notices the tension immediately. She senses the unspoken rules forming around the revelation. Children are expert observers. They pick up shifts adults often try to hide. She notices Amy's careful pauses, Jack's quiet monitoring, and Lou's watchful strategy. Instead of speaking, she waits, absorbing, calculating her own understanding of the situation. Her questions will come later, precise, and with a weight that demands honesty. Amy feels the pull of this anticipation and realizes that protecting Lindy means choosing words carefully but truthfully. When confrontation finally begins, it is understated but unavoidable. Amy speaks first, not out of anger, not out of judgment, but from a need to understand. She asks questions that are layered with concern, protection, and authority. The adults involved respond cautiously, aware that their words are being weighed and measured not only by Amy, but by the unspoken presence of the ranch itself. Every explanation is filtered through the lens of accountability and consequence. The first exchanges are awkward, filled with pauses, glances, and unspoken tension. Emotions aren't explosive. They are measured, deliberate, quietly devastating. This is a confrontation not meant to humiliate or shame, but to illuminate. Everyone involved must reckon with what has happened, what it means for their lives, and what responsibilities now rest upon them. The silence between words is as telling as the words themselves. Amy feels the invisible threads of history and consequence weaving tightly around her, reminding her that love is never simple and that responsibility has no shortcuts. Jack observes quietly, offering presence rather than interference. He knows that real understanding cannot be forced. It must be earned, revealed in moments like these, layer by layer. Lou reinforces this perspective with subtle guidance, reminding those involved that intentions are not enough. Actions, care, and foresight are the true measures of accountability. Lindy listens without interruption, her mind working faster than the adults expect. When she finally asks her questions, they are precise, honest, and profound. She asks not to assign blame, but to understand truth. The adults pause, recognizing that her innocence carries clarity that they themselves have complicated with assumptions, fear, and time. Amy responds with care, balancing honesty with protection, knowing that each word shapes not just Lindy's understanding, but the emotional foundation of the ranch itself. The emotional ripple from this confrontation spreads outward. Horses shift nervously in the barn, the wind moves differently across the fields, even the sun seems sharper, brighter, and more exposing. Heartland itself becomes a silent witness to human accountability, proving once again that the land holds memory, emotion, and consequence. By evening, there is no resolution, but there is clarity. Everyone understands that nothing can be undone, but everything can be addressed. The baby's existence is no longer a secret, and the ranch must accommodate this new reality. Amy recognizes that this is a turning point, not just for those directly involved, but for the entire family, the land, and the bonds that tie them together. Season 20 isn't about instant answers or neatly tied resolutions. It is about the slow, deliberate unfolding of truth, about accountability, about navigating the messy intersections of love, responsibility, and consequence. And as Amy stands in the twilight of the pasture, watching shadows stretch across familiar land, she realizes something profound. The arrival of new life doesn't just alter the future, it forces every heart to confront what it values, protects, and must uphold. The following morning brings with it a tentative calm. Heartland Ranch feels different now, as though the news of the baby has stretched its boundaries, testing the strength of familiar spaces. Sunlight hits the pasture in sharp streaks, highlighting every fence post, every trail, every shadow where history lingers. Nothing is as simple as it once was. Every step across the ranch carries weight, every glance carries history, and every decision has consequence. Amy rises early, her routine now layered with thought and caution. She moves through chores with precision, but her mind is alive with questions about responsibility, trust, and the fragile structure of family. A baby is more than news. It is a catalyst for reflection, for confrontation, for reconsideration of what matters most. Amy's instincts guide her, the same instincts that once read a frightened horse now reading the subtle shifts in her own heart. She knows she cannot control outcomes, only how she meets them. Lindy follows at a distance, quietly observing. She has learned that life at Heartland is rarely straightforward. Children notice truths adults try to conceal, and Lindy senses that the balance of her world has changed. She doesn't ask yet, but every small gesture, the way she pauses at conversations, the careful way she interacts with others, is informed by curiosity and awareness. Amy understands this, and she knows the responsibility she carries extends beyond her own heart. Protecting Lindy now means embracing honesty without causing harm and teaching strength without creating fear. Jack continues to act as the stabilizing presence. He does not solve the problem, nor does he force reconciliation. Instead, he observes, guides, and waits, giving space where necessary while remaining close enough to intervene if the pressure becomes too great. Years of experience have taught him that love, family, and trust are strengthened not through confrontation alone, but through patient attention to the ways people move, speak, and react. His quiet influence reminds Amy that she is not alone in facing the ripple effects of this revelation. Lou's practical mind anticipates challenges ahead. She sees how one new life can disrupt years of established rhythm, and she is determined to ensure the ranch continues to function while holding space for emotional reckoning. She encourages careful communication, monitoring interactions between all parties involved, and reinforcing boundaries without diminishing empathy. Lou knows that responsibility is shown not in words alone, but in consistent actions that respect truth and the needs of everyone affected. As the day unfolds, conversations grow more honest. Questions are asked, explanations are given, and emotions are expressed, though never fully resolved. Amy recognizes that clarity is not the same as resolution. The baby is a symbol of both hope and challenge, and the family must navigate the uncertainty it brings with patience and careful thought. Every choice, every gesture, every conversation is imbued with significance, shaping not only the future of the child, but the integrity of the family and the legacy of Heartland Ranch itself. Amy finally allows herself a moment of reflection. She stands at the edge of the pasture, watching the sun dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the ranch. She feels fear, yes, but also resolve. She understands that love does not vanish because of challenge, and responsibility is not a burden, but a measure of character.